Hello folks, I'm John Myrie and welcome to the Wisconsin Northland Outdoors. On this week's show we have reports and tips for you from Jarrett McCarthy down at Hayward Bait and Bottle. And then we talk spring fishing with pro angler Pete Maina. Lots to cover on this week's show, all coming up right after these messages.
At Hayward Power Sports, we know it's fun to roam the boat shows. But remember, we have awesome deals every day, and we'll be here long after the shows. As the 2026 continue to roll in, we're making insane deals on our remaining 2025 models. Save nearly $13,000 on a 2025 Lund 1775 Impact XS. Or how about $20,000 in savings on a remaining 22-foot Bennington pontoon? Hayward Power Sports has a huge selection of new Lund and Tracker fishing boats. Plus, we have our largest selection ever of pontoons in stock with gorgeous Benningtons and the #1 selling pontoons in the world, Sun Tracker. Hayward Power Sports also carries every major outboard with Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, and Mercury with the best warranty offers of the year going on now. And while the boat shows find you the best financing for the dealer, we work with our banks to get the best financing for you. Our boat show is continuous, so come see us today at Hayward Power Sports. Just 10 minutes east of Hayward on Highway 77. We're at haywardpowersports.com.
The Hayward Lakes Visitors and Convention Bureau in Sawyer County, Wisconsin welcomes you to our Northwoods hometown. No matter the season, no matter the activity, you'll always be surrounded by our great outdoors. What more could you ask for in a vacation destination? Woods, waters, world-class events. Contact us for information on lodging, dining, attractions, events, trail conditions, and more. Order your free vacation guide and start planning your getaway today. Visit us at haywardlakes.com or call 1-800-724-2992.
Riding along in my automobile.
Bumping into things unexpectedly? Make your first choice for collision repair. Ernie's Auto Body, featuring the most advanced collision repair facility in Northwest Wisconsin. With a state-of-the-art spray, bake down, draft paint booth for that better-than-new finish, laser technology for precision frame alignment, loaner cars available, computerized estimates, written guarantees, and documented unmatched customer service, the clear choice is Ernie's Auto Body, south of Hayward on Highway 63 and Nursery Road, where quality is no accident.
Lynn's Custom Meats and Catering welcomes you to stop by for their great lunch menu. And while you're there, Lynn's also has a great selection of custom-cut meats and sausages, as well as many varieties of snack sticks, jerky, fresh cheese curds, and much more. Lynn's is open Mondays through Fridays from 9 to 5:30 and 9 to 4 on Saturdays. Lynn's Custom Meats and Catering in Hayward.
Today, anglers fish longer. Today, anglers fish harder. Today, anglers rely more than ever on their electronics. It all comes down to catching more fish, and today, anglers rely on Amped Outdoors lithium batteries, period. Visit ampedoutdoors.com today to power your outdoor experience.
We're recording down at Hayward Bait and Bottle. I'm talking to Jarrett McCarthy. And Jarrett, fishing season is officially open. Quite a few people out there over the weekend. I see a lot of boats out there.
A lot of boats. You know, I was headed into work on fishing opener Saturday morning, and when you pass 6-7 boats headed northwards at 5:30 a.m., you know it's that time of year.
Did you get any reports on the fishing here? Let's start with the walleye fishing.
So the couple of reports I did get from walleye, it looked like walleyes were fairly slow, but there were some anglers that picked them up here and there. Saw some nice fish caught, both out of the lakes and the rivers around here. Guys using live bait, guys using some jerk baits, a lot of stuff out on the flowage. But yeah, people got some walleyes over the weekend.
You know, and there's always going to be walleyes bites. It's a matter of finding that pot of fish. And big thing to do that, one of the big things is watching your water temperatures, because 1 or 2 degrees makes a huge difference as far as the fish. Most of the fish are going to be shallow.
Yeah, really shallow. And you know what I don't think most people realize is, you know, on bodies of water like the flowage or Round or Cooteray, any of those big bodies of water around here, those fish could be up as shallow as 2-3 feet. So don't think that just because you can't get a boat up there, the fish won't be up there. They'll be there.
No, and actually the ones that go out deep a lot of times are the little males.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, those fish that are just getting done spawning, but a lot of those bigger fish, those fish that are still recovering, they'll sit up shallow and they'll eat. You know, this time of year when all the bluegills and crappies are coming up shallow, that's a big part of their food source. So it's not like the walleyes are going to head out deep to chase food that's right there in front of them.
You mentioned live bait, and that's always the go-to this time of year, but a lot of times people overlook that late evening and even after dark, if it's going to be warm out, a crankbait bite, casting shorelines and stuff.
Crankbaits, jerkbaits, hardbaits in general, yeah, it's hard to beat in the springtime when those fish are still lethargic, given that, that jerkbait a nice pause or just running a crankbait by them looking for one of those reaction strikes. But yeah, it's a great option out there if you don't feel like just sitting still or just dragging a minnow.
And the other thing too, there was other fishing going on, the pan fishing. I don't know what you heard there. I mean, I did catch one crappie on one lake. It was out in 10 feet of water. It was a 14-inch crappie, but it was full of eggs yet. So even though the water temperature I was seeing was 58 to almost 60 degrees, I don't think they've started to move shallow yet. Maybe on some lakes.
I don't think they've started to move shallow either. We've been looking for a good 4 or 5 day run of warm temperatures that we just haven't quite had yet. I think surface temps, on a lot of those back bays, they're reaching those upper 50s, and these fish are getting ready for it. A lot of the pictures that we're seeing, the males are starting to get their black tuxes on, starting to think about it. But I think we're still a week and a half away with some solid weather from those crappies coming up shallow and doing their thing.
Anyway, I don't know if there's been much going on. Bluegills, that'll start to show up here pretty quick, too.
Yeah, those bluegills, we were out on the lake last night. We had some bluegills that were coming up, pushing right up to shore that were feeding pretty well. There'll probably still be a handful that are sitting out waiting to come up in that 8 to 10 feet of water. But yeah, you get a nice day out there where you jump up into the 60s and 70s, which it looks like we're going to have this next week. You get to noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock when that sun starts beating on the water, and those fish just come up to the shallows in droves. So, just because you head out onto the lake 8, 9 a.m., early bird gets the worm, but I guess the 3 o'clocker gets the bluegill.
What's your favorite tactic for those fish when they move shallow for crappies and walleyes?
So crappies and walleye is my favorite tactic. Most of the time I'm out there fishing structure, and when I need to be really tight to structure, there's two things I can do. A is I can hug the boat to the structure and jig with a plastic, or I can run a minnow under a slip bobber. And a lot of these crappies, they don't want to move far from the structure during those non-feeding hours or what have you, so you got to have a really nice, lively-looking bait, something that really wants them to get away from the structure. So whether it be a fathead or one of the Mr. Crappie plastics, those are my go-tos.
And an overlooked tactic, too, is actually casting small jigs with swim baits or little plastics. Even live bait, casting it out and swimming it through the water column back rather than sink. It's a little trickier. You can keep it up off the bottom and swim it through the weeds, but sometimes that's just allowing you to cover a lot of water and put that bait in front of more fish.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you said it, if you're out fishing one of those expansive flats, those weed flats or, something where those crappies are going to be, you just can't quite peg them down. It's a great way to search for fish, whether it be bluegills or crappies.
Yeah, the rod you're fishing with makes a big difference. I try to use like a light action rod, and usually around 7 foot. You can get that little tiny bait out there quicker, farther.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And let's talk about bass fishing. That's been open for catch and release all year long, but there's always going to be people out there after bass, and I've had some good reports on some big smallmouth, actually.
Yeah, and some big largemouth as well. We had some guys up here on the Nelson Lake for Governor's Open, and saw some really nice pictures of largemouth coming back. Some people out on the flowage, not on some of the clear bodies around here, getting some nice smallies. But yeah, it seemed like it was a fun-filled weekend for bass.
Oh, yeah, it was a big event. I mean, they had the Governor's Opener here in the Hayward area, a lot of things going on, and a lot of people out there. And you mentioned bass fishing and everything, but, northern pike fishing was really good, too. I saw a lot of nice northerns caught.
Yeah, I did. Whether it been on the flowage, Nelson, yeah, there was some really well-built pike that I was seeing out there, some solid 30, mid-30-inch fish out there. So, yeah, those fish are in there roaming, chasing bluegills and crappies that are coming up, too.
And I know the turkey seasons were open, and a lot of people I know got birds out there.
Yep, same here. We're seeing a lot of people that are coming in, talking about the turkeys, seeing some pictures online about some people putting some feathers up on the wall, just as long as they're putting them on the wall and not pulling them out of the truck.
And there's been some good fish action up on Lake Superior, too. I've seen some pictures of some pretty nice catches of trout and salmon.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. Yep.
And down here at the shop, you guys are pretty much geared up. A major revision on the way the shop was laid out and looks. It looks like you got way more stuff, but you really probably don't have all that much more, huh?
We've got some more. We brought in some bigger brands and definitely kind of up the ante on some of our color patterns. So, yeah, we've got a whole bunch of stuff in here.
Thanks a lot, Jarrett, for taking the time with us here.
Thanks, John.
Well, folks, we need to take a break right now and hear from some of the fine sponsors that make this show possible every week. When we come back, we'll be talking spring fishing with pro angler Pete Maina. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages. Hayward Bait and Bottle is your one-stop for the Hayward area's largest selection of rods, reels, lures, fishing electronics, boating supplies, and much more. Whether you fish for bass, walleyes, panfish, or muskies, gear up for the upcoming fishing season, and if you're getting ready for the spring turkey season too, they also have just about everything you'll need for a successful season. In the bottle shop, you'll find a full selection of beer and liquor. Hayward Bait and Bottle is your one-stop sport and bottle shop. There's no time like the present to explore Hayward, Wisconsin, one of the Midwest's most popular vacation destinations. With crystal clear lakes for water sports and fishing, miles of trails for riding snowmobiles, ATVs, cross-country skiing, hiking, and mountain biking, this area is buzzing with activity year-round. Combined with charming local shops and a variety of Northwoods dining options, Hayward is certain to offer both adventure and relaxation for everyone. Plan your trip today and find everything you need on the Hayward Area Chamber of Commerce website. From events and attractions to local dining, shopping, and lodging, visit haywardareachamber.com and start your next adventure now.
The fishing opener has come and gone. If you fish from an old boat, from shore, or didn't go out at all, we can help. Hayward Powersports has an awesome selection of new Lund boats, built by fishermen for fishermen for the last 75 years, and no boat retains their value better. Or check out a Tracker, America's #1 selling aluminum fishing boat. Whatever brand you choose, they'll be powered by Mercury outboards, rigged and ready. Don't miss another day of fishing. See us at Hayward Powersports, just 10 minutes east of Hayward on Highway 77.
In the Northwoods, a lake property is more than just a cabin. It's where memories are made. If you're buying lakefront property, you want someone who understands what makes each lake special. And if you're selling, your property deserves more than just a sign in the yard. It deserves its story told. I'm Megz Steinmetz with Real Estate by Megz, a national 30 under 30 realtor, lifelong angler, and a Northwoods lake specialist. Because no two lakes are the same, and neither are the properties. Find me online or on social media, Real Estate by Megz. That's Megz with a Z.
Welcome back to another segment of this week's Wisconsin Northland Outdoors, and this part of the show is brought to you by the Hayward Lakes Visitor and Convention Bureau. For more information on lodging and vacationing here in the Hayward Lakes area, check out their website at haywardlakes.com. Well, folks, you know, with spring fishing underway, one of the popular ways to catch fish, especially walleyes, is with live bait, but there are other options like artificial lures. On this week's show, we're talking with pro angler Pete Maina about catching walleyes using artificial lures and a lot more. Pete, you know, fishing season's underway, and a lot of people out there, they go after walleyes. They want to go after walleyes, but of course we fish for other fish too. But, you know, live bait has always been the big option for walleyes, but over the last few years, we've seen more and more people going to artificial lures. I know you fish mostly artificial lures for walleyes too, don't you?
Oh, I far prefer them for a lot of reasons, John. Number one, just from the conservation end, I've always liked it because you never really have the concern about maybe, you know, if you had a slip bob or something and you're not paying attention, maybe the live bait gets ingested. Now you got a fish that, maybe you don't want to keep, or it's wasted, bottom line. And usually between crankbaits and a wide variety of different jigs and soft plastics and a lot of different options, you can find something that they're in the mood for. Now you got to mess around with retrieves and types, there's paddle tails, there's straight tails, there's all kinds of different jigs you can try and different weights to get more aggressive. And you play around with a lot of different things, though. In most cases, you're going to do just as good and likely better because you're not chasing minnows around the floor of the boat every time that you're either fishing jig and minnow or you're fishing a slip bob or whatever you might be. With minnows, you're generally with the soft plastic, certainly crankbaits, you're right back at it. You catch that fish, you fire your lure back out there and you're fishing again.
Well, when you talk about crankbaits, the big thing with the bass, and it started to be with walleyes too, is what they call jerkbaits. Basically, it's kind of like a Rapala, but it is a Rapala. It's just a little bit different. Usually it's suspending type bait, right?
That's the southern boys that call them jerkbaits. We call them crankbaits, John.
Yeah.
We just use them like a jerkbait.
Yeah. So let's talk about how with bass, especially smallmouth, it's like twitch, 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 and a big, long, extended pause on it. You find that retrieve work with walleyes, or do you have to actually do a more straight line and then maybe a twitch?
Well, that is absolutely what you need to play around with every given day. That's the one thing I still once in a while have to kick my own butt, because I'll get in a certain pattern and I'm not catching fish at the time and I'm not playing around it, boy, day to day, you can go right back to the same lake that you were on the day before, pretty successful with a specific type of retrieve, whether it's more pauses, slower, faster, whatever it might be, and you go back and they want something a little different. Most of the time, I like extended pauses with walleyes and fairly slow, but I have seen times they're just like a muskie. They want fast and erratic. Rarely do I just straight crank all the way in. I'm usually throwing in pauses and stuff like that, but I will try that too, and I have had that work. So it's something you really want to mess around with it. Usually when you get your first bite or two, you can kind of lock in on that pattern for the day unless, weather changes or something like that. But it's a day-to-day thing, and I just, kind of force myself to go fast, slow, different length of pauses, and frequency during a retrieve. If you do notice that every hit's coming on a pause, obviously you want to do more of it.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of people make, especially in my boat, is they'll just grab that bait and I say, okay, twitch it, twitch. They don't stop.
Right.
Or they crank it straight in. And they do the same thing time after time after time. And you're right. You got to experiment with a lot of different retrieves. And it doesn't just hold true with crankbaits. Soft plastics and everything else.
Oh, that's absolutely true. With the soft plastics, I've seen times where obviously with crankbaits, if you're twitching hard, they'll go up and down and all over the place. But with the soft plastics, sometimes they want straight. Sometimes they want a pretty slow retrieve with something like a paddle tail that's wiggling in their face, or maybe a curly tail wiggling in their face. Sometimes they're in the mood for that kind of stuff. But other times, even in fairly shallow water comparatively, I'll go to a heavier jig and get real aggressive. They like a fast drop instead of a slow drop some days. So there's a lot of different things you can mess around with the soft plastics too. A lot of different styles, and of course, changing weights and heads and bodies. You experiment with it. It's not like you need a whole bunch of different things, but it's always good to have some paddle tails, some straight tails, a little variety so you can mix it up. And sometimes color make a difference too.
Yeah. I always tell people start out with the more aggressive, look for the aggressive fish. And if you're not getting bit, then start burying the retrieve, start slowing down. But if you start out with a more aggressive approach, you're covering a lot more water quicker. If you start out with a real slow approach, you're really not getting a lot of water.
No, that's true. You're right. If you're going to start somewhere, you might as well start covering more water. And you can somewhat gauge that on weather, too, in a lot of cases. If it's pretty steady weather, you can expect the fish to be a little more aggressive, but you got a nasty cold front or something like that. You might, maybe you could slow down at first. But
well, if you do hit a situation like that where nothing seems to be working and the fish you're seeing on your depth finder are nailed to the bottom, they don't want to move, obviously a live bait presentation works, but would you try anything else? I know I'll try a hair jig or I'll try a Ned rig. Any of that stuff works for more inactive fish.
Oh, yeah. Well, Neds are, if it's a real tough bite and it's painful, I don't like using them. It's slow, but yeah, they can be real effective, John. And one thing you can try, too, that I've actually had some success on is spoons. You can flutter spoons around, spoons that drop back in a lot of cases on the paws or something they'll grab on a real tough bite, too.
Yeah. There's a lot of different options out there. And I know as far as location for these fish early in the year, a lot of people right away run out to that deeper water. And, I've always felt that a lot of the smaller males are the first ones to go out deeper, and the bigger females, they stayed up pretty skinny water for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's not that big fish can't be all over the place, but that's one thing I enjoy about the spring, frankly, is usually you can find a pretty good bite in shallow water. And once in a while, excuse me, they'll be shallower than most people would think. I've literally caught walleyes in like 3 feet of water before, it's pretty interesting. You think of walleye as a deeper fish and everybody wants to run out deep. Obviously, 3 feet is extreme. I don't find them in those levels very often, but I have. So, it all depends on what you like. You can probably find some walleyes out deep too, but generally, some of the bigger ones that I can remember catching on inland lakes are generally shallower fish.
Well, folks, we need to take yet another break and hear from even more of the fine sponsors that bring this show to you every week. When we come back, we'll have the second part of that talk we had with pro angler Pete Maina. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages. Hey folks, come on over to Hayward Ace Hardware and check out the area's largest selection of firearms, ammo, and accessories. We carry top brands like Browning and Sig Sauer, and we have a great selection of the newest and hard-to-find models. We've got a large selection of ammo with more coming in daily. If you need a scope, we carry great brands like Leupold, Hawk, and EOTech, and we'll even mount it and bore-sight it for you too. We even sell suppressors and silencers. And don't forget to check out our Guns of the Week. Huge discounts on a variety of pistols, rifles, and shotguns that change every week. So stop on in to Hayward Ace Hardware, your firearms superstore. Hayward Ace Hardware, Highway 63 North in Hayward, or give us a call at 715-634-8700.
Care for the animals with help from Hayward Feed and Seed. They offer deer corn, mineral blacks, and their famous Big Buck blend. They can also satisfy the hunger of the other animals in your life with a massive variety of dog and cat foods, along with other pet foods and large animal feeds. Plus, they have an awesome assortment of cat and dog toys, along with heated water bowls and plenty of warm, cozy bedding for all the animals in your life. Open at 8 a.m. Monday through Saturday. See the experts at Hayward Feed and Seed. Hayward Animal Hospital is a full-service medical and surgical hospital featuring on-site laboratory, digital and dental x-ray, in-house pharmacy, and online store. Dr. Ostrander has 40 years of experience dealing with illnesses, injuries, surgery, and dentistry. Hayward Animal Hospital offers urgent care appointments and emergency surgery daily. Please call early in the day for these appointments. They open at 8 a.m. Hayward Animal Hospital is located 1 mile east of Hayward on Highway B. Call 715-634-8971.
Welcome back to the last segment of this week's Wisconsin Northland Outdoors. And folks, we're going to jump right back into the second part of that talk I had with Pete Maina. When we get going into the season here and things start to progress, the water warms up and all that stuff, how do you switch over? I mean, the fish start to change a lot as we get into that season a little bit more. Type of the day better than others sometimes, and bug hatches coming up. You got to deal with all that.
Yeah, well, a lot depends on the weed growth and stuff too. I'm looking at that in a lot of cases in the spring, and whether or not you can pin down certain bug hatches and stuff like that. You want to watch for, and just the type of weed and the depth of the weed to pattern, because in most cases you've got multiple spots like that, and I know that isn't talked about a whole lot, but certain weed types can be key, or in some cases the edges, the transitions from one weed type to another can be a focal point for certain species. In a lot of cases, multiple species, so. That's just what I'm looking for all the time.
Well, when you're talking weeds and weed edges, sometimes they get in the most dense stuff that you can't even fish. Then now you're relegated to only fishing the edges, and sometimes you got to get some overcast or toward evening before they even want to come out of there, I've noticed on some lakes.
Yeah, that's true, and it depends. You can get in and try and rip through in a lot of cases. There's some weedless style jigs that you can use, and you can pretty effectively, and that's a good thing to try if nothing's really working on you, or for you. If stuff is real thick and you're trying to comb the edge and you're only picking off a fish or two, you can always try diving right in. Get a weedless, and if you're using super braid line, you've only got a single hook. You're probably, even with a weed guard, you're probably going to catch up once in a while. But if you give that a sharp snap, in a lot of cases, and that's a big advantage to the plastic over the live bait, because if you're jigging minnow, your sharp snap to get rid of the weed also gets rid of your minnow. But with the soft plastic, you rip through in a lot of cases with that super braid, with that snap, and now you're fishing again, and certainly it can help trigger. We talked about it for muskies for years, and you see the same thing with walleyes. I know it's happened to you. You snap that weed off, and it drops, and bang.
You bet. Let's talk a little bit real quick about other species. I mean, the walleye is the big focus up here, but the pan fishing is pretty good. And if people are looking to have some take-home meat, if they're up here and up north someplace, we seem to have an abundance of northern pike, and they're actually pretty doggone good eating, and they're easy to catch sometimes.
Well, yeah, and that's a really good point because, some of our other populations are down a little. It's not that you can't keep some. One thing while it's on my mind with the panfish, I know you agree with. I mean, you can harvest some. They're arguably the best eating out there, I guess you could say, but you definitely don't want to keep the bigger ones, the healthier looking specimens, whether it's bluegills or crappies. Keep a few. Definitely don't keep them when, if you're catching crappies and it's obvious their spawn is ripe, those fish all should be released. You don't really want to pester them until they're done spawning too hard, and certainly not harvest any at that point, right in the middle of spawn. But pike, they're great. And frankly, I've gotten to where, John, I would say about 80% of what I keep to eat now, because they're plentiful. There's actually some lakes in the area where arguably there's too many, and it's good to get them out of there. So what I do is I just, on average, 3-4 pound fish. If I catch a real nice one, a big fat one, even where I think that, there's probably too many pike, I'll let that go generally. But they're easy to flay. They're great tasting. The only key is, making sure, especially if the fish has been dead a while, when you flay it, you want to make sure you keep some of that, or don't let the slime get on the meat, or wash it real good. That's the only thing that can cause a problem. But frankly, pike meat is as good as anything. I can't tell you how many times I've done fish fries and I've sliced up northern pike. People think they're eating bluegills, walleyes, or, it tastes great.
Yeah, that's true. And up here, as we wrap up here, you just want to go have fun fishing. We've got some pretty good bass fisheries for both smallmouth and largemouth. And, those are fish to catch and release, but we have fun with them.
Oh, we sure do. And actually, that's still underrated overall. We've got some really good bass fishing, both species. And some lakes are not even fished that much for them, and there's pretty darn good populations. You don't really see that many people fishing some lakes. Some are a little more popular because of the trophy class smallmouth, I guess. But overall, they're not heavily pressured, and it's definitely a fun time.
And that's one thing you want to experiment around on up here, too, if you're looking for big trophy class smallmouth, because some of the lakes got big fish, but then some of them just have really monster fish in them. I mean, they seem to get thicker and bigger and deeper.
Oh, yeah. We do have some real trophy class fish, actually. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Well, Pete, good having you on here. If anybody wants to kind of follow some of the things you talk about and do, I know you get quite involved with conservation issues sometimes and different issues. How do they find the information on you?
Well, my website, PeteMaina.com, has pretty much got everything on it. I'll just say, we've got the YouTube channel. You can just search my name on there. That is available on the website as well, but as far as everything I get involved with, I've been way too involved this spring, John.
No, yeah. So have I kind of too. But that's, it's like Al Linder said once, it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, Pete, thanks a lot for taking the time with us here.
You bet, John. Thanks.
Well, folks, we're about out of time for this week's show. I'd like to remind everyone out there that if you miss a show, you can always go to our website at wnoradio.com, and from there you can link through to our podcast. You can also find the show on Spotify and all major podcast channels. And also, if you're looking for information on vacationing and lodging here in the Hayward Lakes area, check out the Hayward Lakes Visitor and Convention Bureau website at haywardlakes.com or the Hayward Area Chamber site at haywardareachamber.com. And lastly, if you'd like more information on hiring a fishing guide when you're up here in the Hayward area, check out our website at wnoradio.com. We've got links to just about all the different guides and a lot of information in there on guides. We're out of time for this week's show, and we'll be back again next week with another interesting show for you. Thanks for listening.
Way up in the Northland where the recreation's great. So sit back, relax, kick off your shoes, sink in your easy chair. Come on along, listen with me, I'm gonna take you there to our Wisconsin Outdoors, our Wisconsin Outdoors.
This program has been produced and hosted entirely by Wisconsin Northland Outdoor Communications.